Greetings to my brothers and sisters. How y'all doing today? I want to come to y'all with a video speaking on the account in the garden, and I'm going to be speaking on what these things, what the symbolism, and what some of these things mean, in the garden, okay. And to start it off, I'll start with the creation of man. Now, as we know, on the sixth day, the man was created, and God breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. And that we already see that it's not just the flesh, that makes us a man. It's not just the flesh that gives us life. It's not just this vessel, but it's what the Father had put in us, what he breathed into us. The substance comes from the Father, and even that, our physical was made as clay from the ground. That's to say, the earth, which is the feminine, the female part, but the substance of life, the breath of life came from the Father, which is the masculine, and in that we see that the vessel plays as a submissive part, and the breath of life is as a masculine part. The man receiving the breath of life. So one thing that I realize is that the fleshly aspect of man even is to the spirit, like compared to the spirit, like the weaker, and even as the woman is the weaker vessel, the vessel itself is weak compared to the spirit. And so the man has weaknesses, and his weaknesses comes from his flesh, because the flesh is the weaker part of creation, and the spirit is the stronger. The spirit is the strength, and so the man was made in the image of the Father. So that's to say that the man is flesh and also is spirit, but he is supposed to be a representation of the Father while in the flesh. And so the man is told to, dress the garden and to keep it, to maintain it, and that I see that, life comes with a certain duty and responsibility regardless, to keep things, to keep your peace and well-doing, and just the will and the presence of the Father. There's still a duty that you have, and that a lesson is that in life you can never get too comfortable, so Adam needed to help me. The Father saw that it was not good that Adam didn't have a helpmate, and so he created the woman. Now, And Adam, and the observation of the one thing that was mentioned that was not good is that Adam didn't have a helpmeet. And that, I see it as a man does his work, you know, there is a comfort that he may seek. That comfort may be, you know, something rather more of a physical nature, you know. We seek comfort in the Father, you know. And in the garden, when he was given a duty not to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, I see it like this. To eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, what that would show is that's like the only way a man can go in his own way. A man can go out of the way of the Father, because that's the only thing that was commanded for him not to do. So it even lays out the image of a man going in his own way is to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And that was the thing that's the one thing that would not be good, you know. And so I see it as the man could have been having urges to go in his own way, you know, because he's seeking for something that he doesn't have. And the only thing that he doesn't have in the garden that he can see is the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And in that, it shows that the mindset of man going his own way is to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. You know, to go after, think about this, when somebody feels empty in this world, you know, and the things that they run to for pleasure or to feel fulfilled, you know, the things that only give them temporary pleasure but only hurt them even more. And that's exactly what the tree of knowledge of good and evil did, you know. And to stay in that cycle is to stay in the cycle of death spiritually. And so to go to the creation of woman, I consider this. In the creation of woman, she was taken out of, first the man was put into a deep sleep. Now, pretty much to say he was not awake, he was asleep, you know. And him being asleep was the creation of the woman. And this I see, he dreamed of the woman, you know, he desired the woman. And so he was given the woman of his dreams. And in the creation of woman, she was taken out of his rib. She was taken out of his side. And when he woke up and saw her, he said, "This is not bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh." That's to say, bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh, she is the physical aspect of him. So the woman is that physical aspect that he was looking for. That was the desire that he had in him that he could not see. He could not feel or have tangibly, you know. And so to keep his mindset from going his own way, you know, his desire was taken out of him and placed in front of him. It's not that the desire for the woman was wrong. She was created in a way to keep him from eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil and speculating this. But also the mindset that the man was in, she was created in a sense, you know, in the sense of his weakness. That's to say, in the sense of his fleshly desire. He was about to fall to his flesh, you know, fleshly desire. Or pretty much he was going to fall to his own ways, because the man without the word of the Father is merely flesh. And so if he ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, he's no longer in the word of the Father. So he's just merely flesh, you know. And the flesh without the spirit is dead. So pretty much the woman was his fleshly desire, you know, made in the sake that he would not go in his own ways to go against the Father. But understand this: the woman is the flesh. The flesh is weak. So, as I said earlier, the man himself is also flesh, but he's supposed to represent the strength of the Father. The woman is the flesh, but she is flesh made from the flesh. So she is the weaker vessel. So she's even weaker than the man to her desires. She is the desire of man, but also she has also a mind of her own. You know, she's more susceptible to the temptations of the flesh. And so with that, I see it as there is a responsibility, you know. Your desires come with responsibility. And pleasure comes with a sense of responsibility. Too much pleasure will lead you into a lostness, you know. And as a man, you always have to have a seriousness and a mind where you put the Father first, because your own desires will lead you astray. And so you have to be able to put your desires in check. And the desires that are not, your desires that may not be in the right direction, that's to say that will go against the will of the Father, you have to abandon those types of desires, you know. You have to desire what will desire you, and you have to desire the Father, you know. And that's to say, your desire has to desire a man of the Father, you know. And you have to be that first and seek, if anyone, one who will respect and desire you as that person, because in the end of it all, that is the divine order, you know. And to go out of the will of the Father for a woman will only break you as a man, and also break down all other structures, you know. The structure of the Father in your life, you know. And so, as I said, the woman is more susceptible to the fleshly desires. And I see it as this: the serpent is as the mindset of the man that knows the evil, or the temptations of the man, that knows the desires of the man. And when I thought about this, and another thing I want to say is that understand what was put into the man that gave him life was the breath of the Father. What was taken out of man and what caused him to go astray was the woman. That's not to say that the woman is bad. That's to say that you have to seek the Father first, because if you start going after the woman, then you end up giving her your position. Your position is to lead, and your position is to lead in the will of the Father as a man. But if you go after the woman, you are now giving her that position to lead you. And as a man, letting the woman lead you will only lead you astray, So as I was saying, the enemy, I see it as the enemy being the mindset of man that will tempt him. Let's say before the woman was there, the tree of knowledge of good and evil was there, and it was his mindset of not feeling fulfilled that would lead him to that tree, And along with that mindset comes the weakness of the flesh, that will seek to go in its own way, and therefore, in a sense, blot out the spirit. In that same way I just explained that the woman in the account of the garden is as the weakness of the flesh of the man that feels tempted and wants to go in his own way. It is the action being fulfilled of, the man going in the wrong way, but it's in the image of the woman. And so, even with that, what did the serpent do? The serpent told her words that would more so seem fulfilling, that will make her feel good for the moment, something that seemed pleasing. And think about this. The flesh is always weaker to the spirit. But imagine if someone of the flesh without the spirit that wants to become God. That's to say, the flesh wants to become God. That's to say, when the serpent said, "You shall become as gods, knowing good and evil," the woman wanted to become God. And in that same way, she became God to the man. And the serpent became her God. So